Welcome back to Purpenthicity, your podcast focused on purpose identification and living within the essence of your authenticity. This week, the first week of 2021, it's here. We're talking about enjoyment. Enjoyment to what, you might ask? The process. New year, new goals, new priorities, new adventures to be had. But the common denominator that we found to really elevate your experience is making sure that you're enjoying it. So sit back, tune in, and enjoy the ride. And if you like, please subscribe to get the latest on our content. Cheers. This January is decidedly different than like my last 3 Januaries, where I've been very disciplined, very strict, working out every day, January, building out all my habits for the rest of the year. But one of the things I've noticed, Deric, is that I start off my year really high on this peak, and it feels great, but it's hard. I have not found the way to be able to sustain that throughout a year.
Yeah.
It's clockwork. January be high, February a little dip, and then March is a tank. And then June I start again, July, and then August. I mean, it's cyclical. I know what my pattern is.
Ooh, I might have a topic.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. I'm gonna not get this beautifully out of my brain, but here's something. It's like if you're doing dry January and then you do a dry June or something, if that's what you're saying, maybe the reason you're stumbling down is because you're setting this fucking outrageous goal, which is I'm gonna not drink for 30 days, and then there's no structure after that. There's nothing to hit. There's no milestones for you. So if you gave yourself smaller targets that you could break up throughout the year, maybe that's the path to have a little bit more of a consistent execution.
Yeah, man. It's funny. I thought about it. It's dry. I like the dry January and working every day because it's a challenge. But once I've completed the challenge, it's I kind of lose the dry. Exactly. And it's well, do I just want to do it again? Well, it was actually pretty taxing, and it's I've shown that I can do it. It's just the same motivation is not there. It's I got the benefit. I've started my year off in the way that I want to, but it's almost it's so far out of my norm. It's just too extreme for me to maintain. So I've experimented and tried some other things, scaled back. Maybe I do little mini challenge bursts throughout the year, but kind of to the same avail, man. So my big focus right now is just how do I figure out maybe if I'm not 100% for basic numbers all year, but if I can give a 70 to 75%, but I'm consistent. There's no peaks or valleys. So what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to get out of peaks and valleys. Right? It's I have some months in 2020 where it's boom, firing on all cylinders. And then I had some other ones where it's ooh.
Well, I think there's always going to be peaks and valleys. It's just how high and low are they going to be?
For sure. I'm trying to get aiming for more consistency.
Yeah, because I set myself some goals for goals, milestones, whatever you want to call them, and the last couple of days I've sucked at accomplishing, and some of them pissed me off because it was I was supposed to do things every day, just read read 20 pages a day, and the last 3 days I just didn't. And I mean, I told you I kind of got into a little bit of a funk, but it's I'm looking at this now and it's okay, it's the 9th day of January, Deric, chill. It's okay, you can miss a few, just get back on the horse. And I feel my peaks and valleys are going to be really small. Mm-hmm. There's not going to be anything too deep, and there likely won't be anything too high on my goal list anyways, but pissing me off. It's also interesting to see the goals I'm setting and the ones that I'm naturally not great at. Mm-hmm. So working out's been good, dude. I got a fight camp. I got a boxing thing it's like Peloton for boxing. Okay. And then I also got a Peloton that's getting
you told me delivered. About that.
So
that'll be here in February 23, right?
February 4th.
Okay. I was saying February 2023, but
February 22. Yeah. I was wondering. I was damn, that's a really specific delivery date. Where did you even get that?
Are you in my mail again, Austin? What's going on?
I thought I saw you out in the front yard. But working out has been relatively easy. Reading, of course. I haven't done a video for LinkedIn. That's one of my goals. Mm-hmm. I have done my LinkedIn posts 3 per week. The interesting one is 3 hours of content for my book each week. Mm-hmm. Not a fucking minute. Not even 1 minute in the last week.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I wonder like where that comes from. But I love this tracker that I have, dude, because I get to stare at myself and be like, damn, I have 9 or 8 red boxes that I haven't done shit.
Yeah. Well, first off, I love the tracker idea, and I love the solid thing that you post on LinkedIn. And if nothing else, it's great to see data, and it's great to see which areas am I accomplishing, which ones am I not. I'd say in response to yours, because I've done something similar to that. I got to read 20 pages every day. I've got to do all these things where I look at it as like I still do only have so much energy and I need to be more strategic about where am I putting my focuses. So there like might be 10 things that I want to do every day, but like what are like the 2 or 3 most that like I need to do that's a tied to like my more central vision. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? It's
that's
like,
good. Well, what you're reminding me of is like you just said something that I don't do, which is like I don't do a to-do list. I don't like break up these goals and then add them to like on a random Saturday. Like what are the 5 things I've got to get done today? And what are they how do I incorporate my goals into that? And then do I
mhm.
knock off the first 3? And is that still a good day for me? Like I don't do that. So maybe that's something I can do in the morning is just be a little bit more deliberate about shit I need to get done.
It's almost like prioritizing. Like, look, Derek, there's no shortage of things that we can do in a given day, right? But what are the things that are actually going to matter and make a difference or make us feel good or whatever it is that you're looking for? That's kind of how I look at it at. And that's what I'm attempting to try and build a system to be a little bit more focused on that today. Like I've done the super structured and rigorous and I've shown that I can do it, but it's just not sustainable for me. And
Yeah.
I want to
Well,
do
makes
something
it
that's
makes me feel like a
sustainable.
tool bag. And I think it's like almost mechanized to do so where it's like, oh, you're not hitting your fucking goals. Oh, you suck. You're trash. Why can't you do that?
You know.
And there's all sorts of little tips and tricks about what to do. Like I learned something yesterday just about like, and you probably do this, but like starting each day with like gratitude or like, what am I here for? What's my purpose? So like my alarm went off. I sat at the edge of my bed and I just thought for a minute, like, what is my purpose today? And it was
Hmm.
cool. It was definitely a cool exercise. Um, but I think as long as you want to be great, you'll push yourself to keep being great and maybe not be so hard on yourself for other shit.
Yeah, my thought is, I don't know if like the data, like I'm trying to say this in a way that doesn't like discredit like the actual work that you do on the day to day, but I think what I'm trying to synthesize in my mind, just like the milestones and achieving the milestones are more important than like what am I specifically doing, and like of every single element of every single
Yeah.
day. Like, am I trending towards like the milestones that I have in place, and like habits and like the minutia like is important, but it can also, I don't know, it can become like an assignment or work versus something that I genuinely want to do or that brings me like enjoyment. And then I think you're actually hurting yourself on the way to like what you're trying to go for.
Yeah, I feel like I work really hard
Mm-hmm.
on everything that I do and everything. Obviously, I mean, we're involved in a few things. So like we work hard and then all the other shit that I do, I work really hard towards it, but I don't necessarily I do it like intuitively. Like I just know where to be putting my time and energy and things work or they don't work. But I think this is almost like a discipline play for me of like, okay, cool, but can you deliberately get certain things done that are more long term in nature? Like working out 3 times a day. I don't call that's not necessarily short term. That's more like mid long term. Like I'll see the benefits of that.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, I mean the first 8 days I worked out 4 days, so I exceeded my goal for week one. I want to work out 3 days a week. I did four. Um, I was being okay for reading, but dude, I love reading. I love reading these books, but I'm starting to, it's cool. Here's what I'm getting out of it. So when I look at the 3 red days, I don't necessarily feel like a failure in those 3 days. I feel like I'm learning about myself. So like those 1, 2, 3, the first 4 days I was reading during the day. I was finding time in my work day or like early morning where I'd crack a book and I'd read. 5, 6, 7, 8, I waited till the end of the day. Like
Yeah.
day 5, I read at 11 something at night in my bed. I just to crank out 20 pages, and as I was doing it, I was like, "This sucks. I don't want this to be how I have to read. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want I don't want myself to read at 11:58 p.m. like just to fucking squeeze it out." So then on night 6, 7, and 8, that's what it was. It was 11, 11:15, and that's my. I look at that as my time. Like, I want to be quiet. I want to be watching TV, if I want to play a video game, that's me. And to think about reading, it's like now it's work.
Yeah,
So
exactly. It's a become an assignment, and
so
then
how
now
do I
you lose
make
the
that?
joy,
How
right?
do I do that during the day? Like, because I could read 20 pages right after I get off the podcast with you. Will I? I don't know. I'll go downstairs. I'll see Ophelia cuddling on the couch. I'll go cuddle that baby. But
Well, here's the thing: like, what is it that you want to do versus what you should do? Because those are two different things right there. Because you're like,
yeah,
I should read, like, but like, here's a question: like, when do you actually like want to read? And again, doing something like this might give you some good data on it. I know for myself because reading, I've been assigned so many books that I've had to read throughout my lifetime, or even just like this past year. And like, I'm at a point right now where it's like, I want to read the things that I want to read when that I want to read them. Like, it's definitely still a priority. And like for me, that time's either become in the beginning of the day or around 6 p.m. If I don't have any coaching clients or coaching time or anything like that, I'll just take some time to walk on the beach and pop my book open. And it's like, I'm not metricing how many pages that I read, but I'm putting time and energy towards that specific activity.
yeah.
That's how I'm like treating my reading project. The big theme that's coming to me, man, is just simplification and just like enjoyment. And it's like, I mean, here, think about it like this. Even look about what I've done in my Januaries. Like, I've killed my Januaries in the past, but
Yeah.
it's not always super fun. Like waking up at 5 in the morning and then working out, from when I leave my door to come back is almost 2 hours, my commute time. Like, that's not great every day. Like, I feel good after I do it, but it's not
In January, you
super.
do that 7 days a week.
Dude, for my past 3 Januaries, I've worked out every like 1 through 31, and Monday through Friday is 2 hours door to door. It takes me like 10 or 15 minutes. I run a mile to my gym. I do a 60-minute weight lift out. I do 30-minute cardio, and then I run back home. So by the time I shower, it's like 2 hours door to door. And then on the weekends, I'll do like a run, a long run and a short run, 6 long
You're
run,
insane.
4, yeah. And I do it every day. And I don't drink. I don't eat red meat or pork.
Why don't you just do that 365?
Well, because it's not fun. That's why. It's like you get, so I'm just thinking about myself, like why it doesn't continue, because it has to be fun, right? It has, that could even be like whatever you're doing, like it has to be enjoyable. Like,
Well,
maybe not in the minute, but like there has to be a tie to that.
how would you respond to? And this is honestly like a little bit of my not. I don't want to call it a hard-rooted belief, but I definitely lean into this direction, which is like sometimes growth isn't fun. So to level yourself up, to elevate yourself, like you're gonna have to do things that make you uncomfortable. Now,
Definitely.
working out and not drinking for 365, maybe that's more torture rather than making leveling yourself up. But when you look at some of the goals you have for this year, or just some of the thoughts you have for this year, if they're all easygoing, unless that's deliberate for your time, right? Like if you, for your brain, like your deliberate thing is mental health and getting yourself even keeled, that's a different story. But that's not my priority this year. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe that's wrong for me to not want to do. But I'm still in this like hyper growth mode of like I've got a budding business that is opening up. Obviously, dad, husband, work, career. Like I've got a bunch of different priorities. And if I'm doing shit that's fun and easy every day, I feel like I'm missing something.
Mhm. Well, a few things there. Fun doesn't necessarily mean easy. And, and this is for me as what I've noticed when I am at my best is when I am enjoying and having fun in the process. Does that mean every single thing is fun? No. But if you like raise it up 30,000 foot view, am I enjoying and having fun in what I'm doing? And if I'm not, then like why am I doing
Yeah.
it? And why am I putting that type of energy into it? And so it's interesting when you look within yourself, you have to figure out like what is the common denominator for you when you've noticed that you've been at your best. What are those different characteristics that you want to emulate? I can tell in everything in my relationship, with my friends, in my coaching, in my businesses. The one common factor is when I'm having fun, my level of connection increases, my productivity increases, my enjoyment, the energy that I put into it. So that is it for me. And just because it's for me doesn't mean it's for you or for any of our listeners, but I think you need to find whatever that thing is and then try and, have more of that in your projects.
Yeah. That's a really, like a really, I'm going to say deep. I don't think having fun is necessarily like a deep revelation, but
Mhm.
the thing that's coming to mind is like, how am I architecting my life? It's like, sure, I can put these little milestones in place. Hey, read, Derek. Hey, write towards your book, Derek. Hey, do some more podcasts, Derek. But those are all like, if I keep up with the architecting theme, it's like, great, I need sinks and toilets, and I need windows and doors, and I need shingles on my roof. But like, what am I like? What's the build looking like? Like, how do I want every day to look, feel, and s- smell?
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say
yeah,
fucking
yeah. It's
smell.
just like, what is the experience of it all, right? And I mean, it doesn't mean just because you're having fun, doesn't mean you can't have outrageous and scary goals. Doesn't mean that you can't still do things that are scary. I mean, one of the big things I'm focused on this year is I haven't figured out what my metric is going to be, but I'm tying it on once a month. I want to do something that scares the shit out of me.
Like
And
bull riding.
I mean, just like something that I am putting myself out there that makes me feel uncomfortable because that is a sign for me that I'm doing something that is also pushing and challenging me in a way that is helpful for my growth. Now, that might not be necessarily fun in the moment, but the process of it can be enjoyable. And that's my common denominator for this. Is like you have to enjoy it because I've done it all. Like I've done the mega like process and I've got to do every little thing. And if it's not fun, it's not going to be sustainable for me.
Yeah.
For me.
This is a good chat, man, because like I feel like I've gotten a little bit down a different trail. Like, I think, walking with like blinders on, so to speak, of I love what I do with Wicked Bold. And, when I zoom out far enough, like I love what I do even with like my leadership and my sales career.
Mm-hmm.
But leadership and sales career is starting to feel like autopilot.
Yeah.
um and I feel like I'm letting that take hold of some of my days versus architecting, even with that incorporated, like, how do I find joy and happiness in all things that I do, has been something that I just don't think I've paid a lot of attention to, which sounds shitty, but
Well, I would also say it's one of the things you don't instinctively go to because we're in such a culture we've just got to get shit done, right? There are things that need to be done. So thinking
yeah.
about like the process and like how you feel on it isn't always something that is immediately on our attention. We have to set time to like notice these type of things or like what is our relationship to some of our different projects or priorities, which oftentimes goes by the wayside. So, I mean, even as you're starting the new year, that I mean, just even like embedding some noticing practices into your routine could be really impactful. Like you mentioned, you were talking to me the other day about your tracker. It's like, okay, there's some areas with whether it be physical fitness or reading that I just haven't done. It's like, okay, cool. Like you said, okay, well, that was a failure. I did. I was like, I don't know if it's a failure, but it's really good data, and it's just like
Micro failure.
micro failures. Okay, and you have different terminologies, but it's a really interesting data point to understand. Well, like, why is that happening? Why are you not doing that? And maybe there
Yeah.
needs to be an adjustment. And there's something in there.
Yeah, I mean, it for sure, man. I think a little bit of it. I really need to get to this root of like this imposter syndrome shit, because it doesn't make any sense. Like, when I have like a level head and I can look at it objectively, it's like, what are you imposturing? Like, what do you do? Like, you've lived your own life. The things you're saying are based on facts, and maybe
Mm,
it's like it's the same thing with, it's the process that I think gets challenging. Like, when you think about like, dude, when I think about career, or like what my purpose is,
mhm,
it's 100% what I feel like anyways. And maybe this is what I need to rethink or just like add on to, but like, or just get more specific, but it's like helping people. So when I'm putting content on LinkedIn, when I'm writing my book, like the mission, I'm not thinking about like followership or sales for my book. I'm thinking, what can this do for someone else?
mhm. Now you're on something.
Well,
Yeah.
the process is very lonely, because until I put it out there, there isn't anyone consuming it really, right? Even on
Mhm,
LinkedIn, like it's disparate, right? Like I don't necessarily know if I have like a trail that I follow like consistently on what I'm posting, or it's kind of all over the place. But when it comes to writing my book, I think what happens, and this is very subconscious, like, is this gonna help anyone? Like, why the fuck am I even writing this?
mhm,
So then, two layers above subconscious is like, I'm not even gonna put that on my calendar.
mhm. Doesn't it just go to show the power of the voice inside your head? And
Yeah.
we've talked about this multiple times, right? If there's a negative reinforcement or there's a, oh, there's not value, who's going to, I mean, it permeates like throughout our life. And I think that's a really present example of it.
What what if like I guess what's the purpose for our people this episode? Like what do you think they can either take away or like what would you highlight? Maybe we can do that. Like what's the highlight reels?
I would say is understanding what is it that you need to bring like enjoyment to your process. I think when I think of New Year's resolutions or starting a new year, there's a bunch of things that everybody has to do, but they're things that a lot of times people don't really enjoy doing. It's like, oh, I'm not going to eat a carb for a month. Okay, cool. Like, that's great. That might not be very fun. And
Yeah.
what are the things that can make whatever it is that you're doing, I don't know, more enjoyable and thus like, more sustainable? Like if you're looking at something and you are attracted, you get excited about doing it, either for what the byproduct may be or because you enjoy the process, you're a lot more likely to do it versus it's that thing where you're kind of avoiding in the back of your mind and you're like, oh, I got to do this thing. If you're looking about, because most people in the beginning of the year set goals for the entire year. And so if you're having something right now that you're rolling your eyes at right now, imagine what your response to this is going to be that in April or August or September,
Yeah.
right? So I think that would be something that I would encourage listeners to take a look at into their goals, into their priorities, into their projects.
So how would you respond like so let's say reading
Mm-hmm.
or any variation, reading, audiobooks, consuming content makes someone roll their eyes. I would argue like dude, reading is one of the best things that you can do. Reading audiobooks, like learning more information. How would you respond to someone if they're like, "Oh yeah, I fucking hate that. I roll my eyes at it." Because you can't. That's one where it's like you gotta have to. Or what would you say to that?
I would say, do you? I mean, if you don't like doing it, you don't want to do it. If you don't see a clear benefit for you, then like, why are you forcing yourself to do it? I'd say maybe look at your relationship with it. Is there a different time of the day? Is there a different type of source that you can get to get your information? It's like, are you just making yourself do something? Now, look, there could be something about building a habit. And if you're trying to incorporate that, I think it all goes back down to what's the bigger why for you with
Yeah,
doing the thing that it is that you're doing. And if that's not present, then it's probably going to be hard to continue that, throughout the year. Or maybe it's even like setting like a smaller target for yourself. Maybe it's, hey, read one page. Do
true.
some.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be like a read for 20 minutes. That might suck for somebody, or that might be super easy to another person. Like you could say, oh, my goal is to read 20 minutes a day, and somebody's like, that's just 20 minutes, right? So it's like, what is the thing? Maybe it's, hey, I'm going to read a news article today. I'm going to go and
don't
read the
do
front.
that.
Yeah, yeah. No, that might get. But it's fine. It's finding the thing that works for you. And I even tie this kind of a little bit back to imposter syndrome a little bit because it's like the standard goal is like, oh, well, I've got to read X number of pages or I have to do this. Who cares what anybody else is doing? What is the thing that best actually serves you? And if
Yeah,
you're making yourself do something to conform with the norm and you're noticing that it doesn't feel very good and thus it's not being very productive, maybe it's time to look at a different way and just get intense or get really present to what is it that you need for the thing that you're doing. That's what I
yeah.
would say.
You don't have to be a Navy SEAL.
Yeah, you don't have to be David Goggins, right?
Well,
Just because I go,
but I
yeah.
think that's the content that is out there in regard to goal setting and how to be great and how to have discipline. It's David Goggins, the other what's the other guy, the other Navy SEAL guy that produces
Oh,
them.
Jocko
Yeah,
Willink. Yeah.
Jocko Willick. Like that's the content that exists. You get friggin' what's it, Jesse Itzler jumping into
No.
fucking ice lakes and
Yeah,
shit.
and
It's
and
like
and that's great, and it's inspiring. But they're taking what works for them. Just because it works for them doesn't mean it's going to work exactly for you in that exact same way. We're all one of one. What works for Derek Cahill is going to be different than what works for Jesse Itzler or what works for us for Austin Walker. I think it's you have to be really present to like what is your individual greatness? What is the thing that makes you great and like exude those things. Like find your way because it's not
yeah,
going to work doing somebody else. Like, you can take some notes from somebody else, right? It's not saying that like they're not great examples, but I think you have to like whatever it is that you're doing, you have to make it yours.
yeah.
That's what I would say. And that's also like that's kind of like the fun and exciting part about it. It's just like And when you also look at it, is it like, hey, like those people did really amazing things, like good for them. But just because I haven't done that makes me less. I think it's also like a really empowering place too. That's right.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, maybe not less, and I might even be speaking from me right now, but like me jumping into ice lakes, let's
Hmm.
say.
Hmm.
The fact that I don't do that, or that I don't eat exclusively fruit for the first 4 hours of my day, whatever it ends up being,
Hmm.
it doesn't make me feel like less. It makes me wonder if I'm not gonna get more.
Yeah.
Right? Like these goals that you have, these aspirations that we have. It's like, well, I mean, if I can't do X, or I won't do X, does that mean I have to adjust my outcome of Y? And I don't even know if that makes sense. Like, does reading every day get you to Y? Likely not. I don't know. Does it? Who
Yeah.
knows?
May help. I don't know. I mean, is jumping in an ice lake going to help you build a chocolate empire? I don't know. And if you're really,
Maybe
if
I'll
you
go
really,
into maybe I'll go into hypothermia and have a crazy
uh,
idea.
who knows, man? And if you find yourself like, all right, I got to try this, then do
I
it and
gotta try
see and
it.
like experiment, right? But I don't know. I really, it's just coming full circle for like what I'm trying to, and I haven't fully figured out like what my thing is. It's like I want to set like my own standards for what excellence will be or for what success will be for me, not in the lens of like other people. It's like, for example, like if I make, let's say I make 25K in my coaching practice this year. And if that's the goal that I set, like who gives a shit if somebody else is making 50 or somebody else is making 100 or somebody else is making 2? Like that was the standard that I set for myself, and it's a process on a journey, right? And so I think it's just understanding compassion with yourself, and that's just, I don't know, that's just really ringing true. I think in my life right now.